My goal today is to share with you a vignette. I want to share with you, take you to the middle of a case study that I think is one of the most fascinating and important for us to understand as experts in leadership and organization development. Because you don't really understand your profession until you can fully appreciate the limit case. Until you can really extend yourself to understand what the potential reach is of the work you do, I think that we underperform our potential. So I want to take you to, I think, an expression of that potential. But how could you create a culture of supreme accountability? 3 insights I want to share. I'd encourage you to write these down, commit them to memory, ponder them. Some will be very familiar, but I'll express a couple of them in a new way to us. First of all, the big insight that came from our research starting 27 years ago was this: the health of your relationships, the health of your teams, the health even of your entire organizations is largely a function of one simple thing. And that is the average lag time between people seeing it and people saying it, between people feeling it and people expressing it, between people recognizing it and people discussing it. That lag time is where all the mischief happens. Does that make sense? So our goal as leadership and organization development professionals, or as leaders, line leaders in our organizations, if you want to develop a healthy culture in an organization, the one dimension that you ought to focus on is how do you shrink that as close to zero as possible? Because that's where all the good happens. And as you're about to discover, it's not just organizational good. It is the deepest human good that you could ever hope to accomplish. Second big idea. The velocity of organizational change, how quickly you can introduce and diffuse new ideas in your organization. The velocity of organizational change is a function also of one simple thing, and it's how quickly people speak up and hold people accountable to the new norm, period. Similar to the previous insight. If you're trying to accelerate change, the question for you to ask, the variable for you to manage, is trying to create an environment where as quickly as possible people start speaking up and holding others accountable to that new norm, to that new standard. All lasting happiness in life, from my personal experience, but also as a function of a lot of our research over the years, is determined by our capacity for 3 things: truth, love, and connection. Truth, love, and connection. And it turns out those 3 travel together. They are inseparable. You can't have one without the other 2. You can't have 2 without the other 1. Truth, love, and connection. The corollary point is, all suffering is a consequence of the lack of one of these. This is one of our very first students, Robert, with a guy who is 51 years old over here, Marlon, who's for a long time been a cranky, kind of obstinate, a curmudgeon type of guy, but is learning to relax and open up and connect. And look at the intimacy of that moment. I just think it's absolutely beautiful. But here's the principle. Here's the why. You can't get truth unless the motive is love. Period. You can't create a community that prizes and values truth above all else unless your sole dominant motive is, I love you. I want you to grow. I want the best for you. And I love our customers. And I love our owners. And I love our colleagues. That's it. I want to serve. I want to make a difference. Now, if that sounds too idealistic for you, you can go back and do it the way you've been doing it. But what I want to tell you is there are opportunities, and the opportunities work on all levels. The health of our relationships, the health of our teams, the health of our organizations is a function of that lag time. And you don't get that lag time down unless the motive is right. But the benefit here is this: you add truth and love and you get growth. That's how you create a culture where people are reaching towards self-actualization, where they are trying to push themselves to their limits on a regular basis. Louis Brandeis, a former Supreme Court justice, said this that all of us have heard quoted: sunlight's the best disinfectant. Oh, so true. Especially a disinfectant for our moral defects. Shame, which is the fundamental canker of all happiness, dissolves when exposed to life. Why? Because the truth about all of us is that we have worth. The fear we have is that we don't. If people saw us, they'd conclude that probably we're not worth loving or connecting with. But the truth is, the more truthful and exposed we are, the more validating that is to that most fundamental suspicion. When you live in a culture of absolute truth, zero lag time, complete accountability, you gain the possibility of healing in the deepest way possible. The theory here is this. Let's go to the other side, the negative side of the argument. The theory is that in most of our organizations, we burn up so much of our potential engagement energy with lying, hiding, and faking. Raise your hand if you think that's true in many of the places we've worked. And so the question is, what if you took all of that and put it into productive use? What if there was no need for lying, hiding, and faking anymore? What if we're able to create that kind of culture? When you create this kind of connection that's based on our interest in each other's growth, is relentlessly involved in that kind of activity, it creates unmatched agility, speed, quality. You can compete in a way that nobody else is capable of doing, and what a nourishing environment. All lasting happiness in life is determined by our ability to absorb truth, to connect with love. And that's it. That's the work that we're about. The 2 million lives that you've had a chance to affect, our deepest hope is that that's what they've started to experience. And I hope as a consequence of you being here for these next couple of days, you're capable of taking that out to the world in a far more profound way. Thank you for being here.